Is Christianity, and for that matter Judaism, are they violent religions? Do they promote violence? Do they encourage violence? Well, the answer to that is no. But that's something that a lot of people have asked questions about for a long time. And there are a lot more questions about that now in light of recent tragic events in Israel. And the reason for the questions and all of the confusion that surrounds that is all of the violence in the Bible itself. Okay, so how can there be so much violence in the Bible, but then Christianity and Judaism not be violent religions? Well, it's simple. We just have to put things in context. Now, I want to say right off, I'm not a theologian. I'm not a biblical expert. I'm just some guy that actually read the book. That's it. And as a Christian, I'm glad I did, because it cleared up a lot of the confusion I had and questions. And as just some guy that read the book, a lot of things became very clear to me as soon as I did. Okay, and for example, the Bible's many things. It's a history book. It's a book of how we should practice our religions, rules we should follow. It's predictions about the future. It's many things. But it's very clear what you're reading. Okay, is this history? All right, well, we have to put all of that in context. For example, if you were to take a history book and you just flipped it over to a random page, and all of us are guilty of this with the Bible, Christians, Jews, Muslims, atheists, agnostics, we'll flip open the Bible, we'll go to one passage and say, see, that's what the Bible is. I mean, you can't do that. If you were just to flip open a history book, random page, okay, June 6, 1944, the Allies invade France, and you stopped right there. You'd say, well, darn, those Allies, they're violent people. They're invading France. France didn't do anything to them. Okay, you got to read the rest of it to realize, well, no, they weren't actually invading France. They were liberating France from the Nazis, and the French people were really happy they did it. And we don't go invading France every year on June 6th. It was just at that one time, that one place. Okay, well, the same way with the Bible. When you read about a battle, okay, what was at that one time at that one place? Okay, well, putting things in context is very useful. For example, the Old Testament, that's about Jewish people. That's the history of the Jewish people, laws they should follow, how they should practice their religion, holidays they should observe, stories from the past, and predictions for them. Okay, well, on the laws, all right, there's a lot of laws that I don't have to follow. Okay, laws of Moses, dietary laws, I don't have to follow them. Well, that's not me picking and choosing, it's I'm not Jewish, I'm Christian. Those laws are for the Jewish people. That's useful information there. Okay, so if you see me eating things that the Bible says aren't to be eaten, well, again, I'm not being hypocritical and picking and choosing. It does not apply to me. Okay, well, we have to think about those things when we're reading the Bible. Okay, Jewish people. And this is not them picking and choosing. All right, a lot of the laws they don't have to follow anymore because they can't. Laws that were specifically written for them or for their ancestors, because those laws were created in the past, history, for those people in that place at that time. Okay, so a lot of the Jewish laws involved the temple. What a temple was destroyed. They can't follow those laws anymore. All right, so they have to put things in context and, okay, what can I do now? What should I do as a Jew? All right, and same for me as a Christian. Okay, I have to think about this. Okay, the laws of Moses, I'm absolutely not required to follow them, but I think as a Christian I should understand them and respect them and learn all I can about them. And then that gives me a better context for understanding things further on in the Bible. Okay, so context is everything. All right, now on to violence. And it's back to the context. The overwhelming majority of the violence that everybody points to in the Bible is in the Old Testament, at that place, at that time. Okay, well, what was going on there? All right, I think the most violent part was when the Jews were led out of bondage, slavery in Egypt, Exodus, and they wandered in the wilderness, where eventually they were going to the promised land. All right, God promised that land to them, or to the descendants of Abraham. Okay, and God told them, go take this land. Tell the people to leave. If they don't, kill them all. All of them, men, women, and children. Okay, well, if anybody just reading that one part would say, well, the Jews were violent, and our God's violent, and he's promoting violence. No wonder our religions are violent. All right, well, back to the context. Okay, why did God tell them to do that? What was going on at that time, at that place in history? And I mean actual history, and this is actual history. But when I say actual history, for those of you that don't believe this, I mean archaeological records. Okay, God told them to wipe out the Canaanites and Ananites. Leave no one alive. All right, well, God didn't want to kill the people. He wanted to kill the culture because of their religion. They worshiped Baal. And there's very little in here talking about the religion of those people. All right. A lot of what I'm about to say we know because of archaeological records and independent sources, independent of the Bible. Those were evil people. And yes, I absolutely am judging them by today's standards. Part of their religion is they did horrible things to children. I mean, really bad things. Child sacrifice was among the nicest things they did. All right. And if you want to know more about that, you've got to go look that up yourself. But God warned the children of Israel, if you don't kill them all, they're going to be a thorn in your side from now on. All right, well, they didn't listen to God. They didn't do what they were told by God, and they spared some of them. Well, that religion continued. And then eventually, over time, a lot of the children of Israel started worshiping Baal. All right, well, that led to a civil war in Israel. Then you ended up with the North Kingdom and the South Kingdom. The South Kingdom centered around Jerusalem, Judea, that's the kingdom. Well, that's where the term Jew comes from. Jew, Jewish, Judea. They were from Judea, Jerusalem. Okay, so again, we have to put it all in context. And God wanted to establish the Jewish people. And keep in mind, he said, this area, I'm giving you this. He didn't say go conquer the world. He didn't say go kill everybody. He said, these people. Okay, well, he wanted to establish the Jewish people as an example for the rest of the world. Okay, so then we go to other parts. Eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Famous saying there that obviously that we can use that to say, okay, we can go do violence. Well, that's not what that was for. Okay, the reason for eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, well, our notion of reparations, that's where that comes from, by the way. And so many of our modern notions of justice come from the Bible. Okay, but eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is you need to be really careful and don't hurt other people, or you're going to be held responsible for it if you do. If you put someone's eye out, you're going to lose yours. Don't go put somebody's eye out. If you go kill their livestock, you've got to replace that. You've got to make that right. Okay, that was not to encourage violence, it was to encourage responsibility. That whole context thing. Okay, and then that's the Old Testament. We get into the New Testament. New Testament was the life and death and teachings and examples set by Jesus and his resurrection. And then, as we get later on into the New Testament, then that's how us Christians should live. That's things we should do. That's how the early churches were formed. And the last chapter in the Bible is Revelations. That's predictions for the future. Okay, so again, a lot of things going on here. We just have to keep in mind what it's saying. Now, yes, we are to be held accountable for our actions. Okay, Jesus, he said, follow the commandments, the 10 commandments, and love thy neighbor as thyself. Okay, loving thy neighbor as thyself. Treat others as you would have them treat you. Okay, that's a really good thing there. All right, but I would expect others to hold me responsible for my actions. All right, so if I were to go doing a lot of bad things, I would expect to pay a price for that. All right, so that's not encouraging violence. That's not me saying just go out and be a warlord. It's saying hold people responsible, or at least that's how I interpret it. And again, it's open to interpretation. Israel, the word itself. Okay, and Israel is what Jacob was named. Jacob was renamed by God to Israel. It's the name of a person. And then the Jewish people, the children of Israel, are literally his descendants. Okay, Israel in Hebrew means to struggle with God, or he who wrestles with God. Okay, Jews and Christians, we're not to blindly just follow this. We're not in a cult. We're to question everything. We're to try to understand this. We're to try to learn more about it. That's why science has done so well in overwhelmingly Christian nations. We're to challenge things, ask questions. All right, but then at the end of the day, we are to be held responsible for our actions. So no, Christianity and Judaism are not violent religions. They do not encourage violence. They do not promote violence. Yes, there is a lot of violence in here. There's a lot of violence in every history book. The point of this is to keep us from continuing to be violent. And if you want to know for yourself whether or not I'm telling the truth, because you shouldn't believe me, I'm just some guy on YouTube, read the book. It's not like they're hard to find. God bless and have a great day.